Welcome back to another edition of the Return the Picks podcast. Where?
Do you want to do that again?
Nah, let's leave it. Let's keep going.
You want to roll with it?
Where?
Everybody say where?
Where we are still trying to make some money off the NFL by making bets each week with 6 teams. Let's quickly, before we get into what we spoke about this week, let's run through the bets from last week. Myself, Ollie Wilson, Dave Bluck, and Jazz Gillum. Jazz, how did you do last week? Because you had 3 wins in week 1, 3 of 6. What about week 2? Any improvement?
5-1, and I backed Kirk Cousins, and I made a big mistake.
I don't know why you back a guy you dislike. So.
I thought the Vikings were going to win it because I thought the Colts were looking terrible against the Jags. I thought, the Colts aren't going to be as good as they thought. And the Vikings come up and ruin it all. Otherwise, 5 were completely correct. 1 let me down.
Yeah, the Broncos, the Packers, the Jags, the 49ers, and the Rams getting it done for Jazzy, the Vikings.
All in the spread. I was shocked.
Letting him down. Dave, what about you last week?
4-2, and a very dramatic finish for me because the Jags and the Giants managed to keep it really close, but they both lost, unfortunately. So it was quite a dramatic end to my bet. It could have gone my way, but no.
Yeah, you did pick the winner in the Rams, which was a guarantee. The Bucs,
I did, yeah.
And Seattle. Which makes you 6 correct overall for the season so far, 8 correct overall for Jazzy, and I had 4-2 as well. And it's very, very lucky for you, Dave, because I'd have taken out a lot of pain on you. If the Panthers had come back against Tampa Bay and won that, and then it had been decided on the Falcons, because that would have been like. I really how much it was, like 80 quid or something.
Yeah,
on that game in the way it finished. It wouldn't have been pleasant.
I'm glad that we don't have to go through that in our friendship.
Yeah, that would.
It's nice.
Would have been awkward. I did pick the Rams, the Packers, and the Bills, but yeah, the Panthers and the Falcons letting me down. So the total earnings so far this year is 0. Nice.
On these bets, anyway.
So far. So, we will bring you some more picks at the end of this week's show. We did have a fantastic chat with a 3-time Super Bowl winner. We've had 2 one-time Super Bowl winners. We've had a guy that's commentated on the Super Bowl, and now we've had a guy who's got 3 rings. And what he said about the rings, I loved.
Yeah.
When we spoke to him, what he said pretty much about everything was just great. Like, no highs or lows, nothing crazy, just a great conversation with an ex-pro. Fantastic, man. James Develin, the former fullback of the New England Patriots, talking about the 3 rings being in the Patriots system and a whole lot of other stuff as well. Any quick takeaways from that you thoroughly enjoyed, aside from the inside of Jazz's house?
Well, no, my fiance's parents' house. You get a kind of virtual tour, if you will. See the outside, some bedrooms.
Get on the YouTube channel for that.
For the visuals.
I might put together just a video that's purely.
Yeah, can we have a collage of Jazz just roaming around from garden to room to room?
You also see my choice of attire. I've got a wonderful Old England shirt on, and probably the best looking Batman pajama bottoms of all time.
Yeah, that was interesting, and
it's great. Such a great chat. I mean, he was just a really down to earth, great guy. I mean, it's not very often you have a conversation as freely flowing as that. I think somebody you've never met before, but yeah, fantastic all the way through.
Any nuggets, Dave, or
just thoroughly enjoyed, the opportunity, and he was just an absolute trooper. He managed to ignore Jazz's distracting roamings around the house, and he answered all of our questions, and I wish all the best for him. He's wicked.
And bearing in mind that Jazz not only gave us a wander around the house, but when
and some serious technical issues as well.
Call, it took a number of attempts for the Zoom call to get going because Jazz was having technical problems as well. All because he just
Jazz has really tried to sabotage this week. Actually,
I really did, didn't I? And then I had trouble with internet connection.
Who paying
all kinds of trouble. Hey man, we got there in the end. I didn't stop. I put my head down. I made it personal. Made sure I put the chip on my shoulder.
You play for Midland, right? You go to Midland, right?
Quickly, that was another one I wanted to ask him. 20 years ago this week that Remember the Titans came out. So,
Nice.
the greatest American football film of all time. Just rounding out a nice NFL week after a pretty sad week too. But let's get into Jimmy Devlin of the New England Patriots, 3-time Super Bowl winner, here on the Return the Picks podcast. Enjoy.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely like a period where you're kind of like, you're so used to being like, on a regiment. Like, you got to be here for practice, got to be here. I mean, you're essentially when you're in season, you're at the facility like 15 hours a day, every day, and so it's almost like you're like let out of prison in a way. Like you're so institutionalized when you're in there that now you have all this free time and you're like literally, whatever you want to do, you can go do it at any time. Like I could get on a plane, with my family tomorrow and be wherever I want. And, no one's going to say like, oh no, you have to stay for this. It's just that freedom is kind of, it's refreshing because it's the first time in 10 years I've felt that way, but in the same way, it's a little bit like you could get lost in that freedom, so just trying to right now kind of collect my thoughts and kind of focus on whatever the next step in my book will be, the next chapter. I got to write that thing, so.
Don't go all Brooks in Shawshank Redemption.
I was going to say that. That's what I thought of. Yeah, my God.
I was picturing that when I said it. Yeah. But
you're writing letters back to Julian Edelman like, don't ever leave. Whatever you do, man, stay in as long as you can.
Scrawling James was here on every wall.
I'll put it right up here.
Oh, man, don't do that.
No, never. Oh, man.
But then it's also like you retire and then obviously the world around us collapses as well, kind of thing.
Yeah, is there a correlation here? Can you come out of retirement and then maybe this thing will go away?
That would be weird, but yeah, it was definitely strange. But also kind of, I found like a lot of silver lining in it because I was able to retire to kind of spend time with my family. And then that's all I could do. For 6 months. I announced my retirement like April, something like that. And then for the next like 5 months, we were like pretty much locked down, couldn't see family, even though they were like a mile away. And then, and then it got to be like the summer months in which we're down the Jersey Shore. There's nowhere better in America to be than the Jersey Shore in the summertime. So, things kind of like they went pretty well for us. My kids are too young; they're not missing school. They don't even know that there's a pandemic going on. So we're just enjoying, family and being on the beach all the time, every day.
That's so nice to hear somebody so kind of upbeat about everything because it's been so doom and gloom.
Yeah, I know.
For a long time now, so that's nice, man. I like that.
We were able to have a good perspective on it. My wife and I tried to really just show the kids a great time because they honestly don't know any better other than what we tell them. So we just, every once in a while we'd have to be like, oh, no, there's germs. We can't go into this store. We can't do that. But,
yeah.
So, but it's all good, man.
So say with that though.
What's that?
So with that, if you hadn't been kind of retiring this off season, given the lockdown and all the rest of the time you've had to yourself, do you reckon that would have planted the seeds of retiring?
Ooh, I don't know. On this side of it, I definitely am like, man, like I'm kind of not glad because I would still like to be playing football if I could, but. Yeah, it would have been different, because I was so used to. I think everyone was so used to playing football a certain way with 70,000, 80,000 fans in the stands, and kind of having that
Yeah,
brotherhood in the locker room, right? And like now everything's separated. There's plexiglass. You know, you got lockers separating yourself on either side, and it's just like everything's distanced. And you know, I don't know. It would have been strange, and I don't know if I would have wanted to leave the game with that, you know, taste in my mouth as being my last thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's, you know, you can always kind of find, and I'm big into it. It's like trying to find the good in everything, right? So, on this side, it's definitely doesn't seem like the worst time to step away from the game, but
yeah, it makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
I still would like to be hitting people. That's
It'd be fun. It'd be fun if you were blocking for Cam as well this year.
oh
That would
yeah,
be,
no,
be a different experience, right?
Yeah, a whole new style of offense, man. It's been exciting to watch the past 2 weeks, and you know, I really think the sky's the limit for those guys, because they're kind of a lot of people didn't expect much, and I know a lot of people didn't expect much out of Cam, but he's proven a lot of people wrong, man. It's pretty cool.
Like, James, I do not. There's no in part of me that wants to like make headlines or anything silly like that. So every question that we ask you, is 100% just genuine interest.
Yeah.
Did you watch that last Sunday and think, I'd have made the hole open?
He's getting in. He's getting in, James. If you're there, he's getting in for sure.
I know. Well, see, I think if I were playing, we maybe would have just tried to run the ball like an old-fashioned style, you know, like kind of how like we won the Super Bowl against the Rams, just 35 lead, just blow it up right down the middle. But honestly, I mean, I thought it was a good call. I mean, nobody had stopped Cam up to that point. You know, they ran that play against the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
2 times. They ran it earlier that day with a lot of success. So I think Seattle just kind of predicted that it was coming a little bit, and they kind of, you know, showed their hand. And it was just, you know, I think you go to your best call at the time. And, you know, Josh McDaniels is one of the most brilliant offensive minds in the game. And I think he made the right call, and it just happened to be a good defense for that particular call at the time. So got to kind of tip your hat to the Seahawks, but I don't know what would have happened if I was in there, man. Maybe someone should set it up in Madden.
Well, that corner wouldn't have come in and stopped it.
Yeah. I don't know.
There was no way they were passing after ball on the 1 yard line with those two teams. There's
no
way.
Right?
No way. That would have been too good, wouldn't it? Jamal
Adams
Adams picks off in the end zone now.
I know. That story would have written itself. Written itself. So.
Yeah, I mean,
what?
Oh, go on, man.
I was just going to say, I'll tell you what I was impressed with. We all know that Cam can score touchdowns with his legs, but his arm looked really good.
Yeah, man.
Really good.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It might be all the way back. We've got Jazz is really, really high on Cam. He was talking about him being a potential MVP candidate, and he looked really good. Really good.
Yeah, I mean, if he continues, I mean, he accounted for all but like 25 yards last Sunday for the Patriots, something like that.
Yep.
I mean, you continue that where you're putting up 400 plus yards a game, either on the ground or through the air. You know, he's scoring almost every rushing touchdown except for one so far, right? And then he's also throwing for everyone. Obviously, he's the quarterback. So, I mean, how could you not? If they have a 12 plus win season, I mean, it'd be hard to not put his name at least in the hat. So.
Yeah, I hope he's going to get some bonus money if they go deep into the playoffs after he's taken a massive pay cut.
I know. But, man, he's saying all the right things, too, man. He's like the fact that he's not motivated by money. He just wants respect. I mean, that goes a long way. And I think the play shows, you know, he's not there just to collect a check. He's there to really make a name for himself again, you know.
To prove himself.
Exactly.
Is that one of those things where you look at it and think, I could really flourish in this offense because it is very much run heavy because of what Cam can do, and because he's big physical back. He's basically another running back stroke fullback crossbreed that can throw anyway. So you kind of look and think like, yeah, this is my kind of team anyway. This is what I could still do, and kind of takes you back to, blocking for Sony Michel in a Super Bowl kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely interesting, man, and I love watching it because it kind of has a little bit of a feel like the Ravens last year, with Lamar running as well as they did. I mean, they were putting up historical numbers as far as like rushing yards per game. And it was like insane to watch them. I mean, they were doing it with Mark Ingram, their young guy they had, and then they had a fullback, Patrick Ricard, who's one of the best in the game as well. And I mean, just seeing like the litany of ways they could attack the run game. The Patriots essentially doing that this year, and it would be really cool to see it from the inside. I know like the traditional runs, when they're coming, and I watch that with a lot of, look back with like, oh man, I remember those days. But now with Cam, it's a whole new can of worms. So it would be cool, man. It would be cool.
But if you've got a guy like Cam who's getting all of those yards, right, that's the equivalent of like driving a truck down Main Street on your way to like senior week, say. And if Cam takes a knock and his shoulder goes again, that's like the wheel falling off and suddenly he's stranded. I mean, you know all about that, James, don't you? So.
Exactly, man. Exactly that.
I am a bit surprised watching it. It's only been 2 weeks, but you mentioned Sony Michel. I'm surprised that he isn't getting more yards so far, because we've seen him really light things up when he gets going. I don't know if they're going to start using him more if he's carrying a bit of an injury, but it just feels like, I don't know, the numbers aren't there yet. You think he'd get more opportunities with Cam there, not less.
Yeah, I mean, I think, who knows? I think when it is always kind of like when Sony gets going, when they give him enough touches early on.
Yeah.
He does have a lot of success. Maybe that's partially because Cam is taking a lot of those early touches where you can't not put the ball in Cam's hands. Like he's such a dynamic player. You just simply got to get him the ball. So we'll see, man. We'll see, because you also can't have Cam carrying that load of running the ball 15 times a game.
Every week.
Yeah, that was the most he's ever done in that first game.
Yeah, so we'll see like week by week, and that's what makes New England so cool is, we could change our style of offense pretty quickly. We have so much in the playbook, and then we bring, a chunk into the game, and then the next week we pull a different chunk down and we say, all right, this is what we're going to do. So this year they have even more to draw from, and so weekly, you might see a different looking offense, that'll be cool to see, man. I'm right there with you guys. Just I don't have the insider info anymore, but it is it'll be cool to watch.
In terms of the playbook, you were in New England for a long period of time. Are you kind of grateful that you were at one team for so long because you have that one playbook and you have a base of knowledge, particularly with Josh McDaniels being your offensive coordinator the whole time? Or did it change much from season to season?
It definitely evolved over time, and we just understood because the players change, and each player has a different strength. Early on, our run game was pretty minimal. Before I got there wasn't a fullback for 5-6+ years. So the running back or the two-back runs was pretty small. And then as we kind of got better in that, the menu started increasing. And then, same with the pass game. Early on, I got there, Wes was still there, Wes Welker. And then Julian kind of pretty quickly came into his role after he left for Denver. So that never really changed. But then we had the 2 tight end system early on with Gronk and Aaron. And then it was just Gronk for a while. So then that whole so things just it's more player based, what you're really going to feature. But Josh's offense always kind of stayed the same. Terminology always stayed the same, and I was definitely grateful to be in one place, because once I learned that, then like that's all I could think as far as football. Like all my football IQ kind of went to that one system. And so then like every once in a while you'd hear someone talking about a different system that they ran, you know, in Oakland or with the Cowboys, and it's like, you know, it's like hearing a foreign language, you know, like you don't even know what they're talking about. So definitely grateful that I was in New England with like some of the brightest minds in the game.
Grateful in New England is like the easiest phrase to bring out in American football of your time there, especially. Like, yeah, it turned out quite well for me, I think. You know, three
done all right.
Super Bowl rings.
Yeah, just casually just flash the rings.
Yeah.
I don't want to get you in trouble, but do they come down to the Jersey Shore with you so you can like flex on the beach a little bit with them? Like, oh, something's glinting in my eye. Oh, jeez.
No, man. You know what? Since I've gotten them, they've been safe kept, in a safe, and I do not take them out. I do not look at them. I don't like even show them to people. I have the AFC Championship one up there with the year we lost to the Eagles in the Super Bowl. I haven't even looked at that one. Didn't even like open a box to see what it looks like.
Wow.
Just put it in a safe and, you know, kind of used it as motivation towards the next year, and then we went back and won it. So yeah, I don't flash those things around. I don't wear them ever. So
it'd be cool to take out when your kids get a bit older, though, huh?
Exactly. So I got 3 kids so far, 3 rings, so they can each pick their favorite.
And if you have a 4th kid, they're like the black sheep of the family.
Oh no!
You want like
they get the AFC Championship.
Yeah. When you've been naughty, it's on your placemat at dinner, kind of thing. Like, you're in trouble tonight.
Then they'll just have to have a battle royale. Yeah. Last one standing.
Yeah. That'll toughen them up.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. So you don't even know what the AFC Championship one looks like at all?
No.
Like, wow,
No.
that's insane.
Yeah.
So it's very much, I guess, because, you know, people talk about like, oh, this isn't the one we want. It's the next one, isn't it? And obviously you see it. I mean, I was thinking of this earlier today. American football is so, and we've said it between ourselves on this podcast and chatting, it's so dramatic in all the silly things that go on. Or I guess it's not silly in the moment, but like Gruden bringing the Rock in 2002 and being like, we pound the Rock. And if they had failed that year, you'd be like, you're an old man. What are you doing?
Yeah, you kind of, just on that, Ollie, you kind of want to see all the things that coaches have done like that haven't worked. Like all the silly tropes and stuff like that. Bringing a dartboard and being like, hitting a bullseye and being like, yeah, that's what we are this year. And then
somebody raising their hand being like,
and then you go, and then you go 2-14 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely like that. I don't know. There's definitely drama to this game, and there's definitely like a sense of like you kind of have to have like a battle cry. So I remember like in college, every year they would like make this like 2 or 3 word statement, like this was what we are this year. It was like one year. Oh man, now I'm like drawing a blank.
It's like the last ride.
Yeah.
One game more, or
never give up or something.
Yeah.
You know, and at first you're like, oh yeah, I could see that, but then it just becomes like, you know, like nobody wants to hear this anymore. Let's just make something that actually is motivating. But there's definitely a sense of that in football, because it's such like you need, you know, like everyone to be collectively, you know, on the same mindset. So they try to like just kind of apply some random thing to it, but it doesn't always work out.
I think it's a very American thing from like a Brit perspective. If you did that in the UK, people would they'd either laugh at you or they'd kind of roll their eyes like, oh, here we go. Yeah. This guy's trying to like there's a resistance to kind of heavy emotion and I don't know, kind of forcing the moment.
It's that
almost
stiff upper lip sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very different attitude.
That's it.
But in
Yeah.
America, it just seems, you guys tend to wear your hearts on your sleeves, and it's,
Okay.
and it kind of,
It's a good thing.
I don't know, it just, it just works, especially within American football, because it's so cinematic, as Ollie was saying.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't
Absolutely.
know. Yeah, there's a lot of
I
room
can
for
see
it.
that.
Yeah.
I can see that. So what is the UK's favorite team?
It's such a hodgepodge, isn't it?
Yeah, cool. Because I've played there 1 year back in 2012.
Okay.
I was on the practice squad. We played at Wembley. We played
Mhm.
the Rams. And
Okay,
we pretty good. But I remember watching, like, on the bus ride in, there's like every 32 teams jersey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
even in the stands, like they're cheering for touchdowns for either team. Like there was
It's a
Well,
bit of
definitely
a,
We're just there for the big flashing lights and big people hitting each other. That's all we're there for.
yeah. So like there's not really like one team that stands above
I guess
the
the
rest.
Jags, because it's technically a home game for them, they've kind of like taken a little bit of a hold. Like you do see some people wearing their tops
the
more and stuff, but
it's the Patriots. There are so many
there
people.
are a lot of Patriots fans. Yeah,
The NFL's resurgence coincided with like the first Patriots dynasty, and then
the second one.
and then then the second
Yeah.
one happened as well, and everybody was like, "Well, we picked the right horse, so let's stay on this one," kind of thing.
yeah. I mean, you can't argue with it. They get results. So.
Yeah. But they
As
did.
well, I mean, Brady's a sort of player you can't really not get behind either. If you do, or you think, oh, he's really good. You look at what he's doing. He's doing it for so many years. You can't really not respect him. So for that reason, it's easy to support the team because of that as well.
Yeah.
All right.
But
So there's nothing like the Patriots kind of represent the people that beat you guys in the Revolutionary War.
No, nothing like
no
that.
judgment on that. Don't worry.
I know. I guess that's old news.
I mean, the French helped you a lot with that anyway, didn't they? So we'll put it down as the French being the winners rather than the Americans.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is interesting though that because obviously Blake Bortles, I think, had one of the highest selling jerseys in the UK a few years ago. Brady and Gronk's jerseys were really high as well at that time. But this year they announced actually that the top 2 jerseys sold in the off season this year. Number 2 was Tua at Miami, and number 1 sold in the off season was Brady and the Bucks. So I actually think that maybe in the UK we follow players as well rather than teams. You watch Red Zone a lot in the UK, so that's how a lot of people get into it now, as opposed to it used to be you play as a team on Madden, you get into Madden. Now I think people watch the stud plays on Red Zone and kind of go, "Oh, I love Antonio Brown, like great," and get into the Steelers.
And then you hear him talk.
So I think it's more like that, and I imagine if Mahomes and the Chiefs continue for 4 years, like that's going to creep up massively in terms of it being a big kind of Chiefs-dominated area. But yeah, I think you guys were very much the beloved team for a very long period in this country. Yeah. Much being upset as the rest of us that weren't Patriots fans. Like,
yeah.
Great. Brilliant.
Well, I chose well, didn't I? So there we go.
Have we had a comment about the Falcons last year or not?
Not yet. No.
Not yet.
Oh, okay, we'll leave that for another time.
I've been waiting for the hammer blow.
That came at the fourth quarter.
Your shirt, and I figured that
Shane's already got him once.
I've been through enough, James, to be fair. And Shane got me real bad when he came on.
Just points the Super Bowl trophy.
Yeah.
Oh,
that was
and then just last week.
Man. Well, I was tempted. I was messaging Ollie about it earlier. I was tempted not to wear my Falcons jersey. It's become a bit of a trope on our podcast. I tend to wear it every week.
Every single time.
And I got loads of different ones. And then
good for you.
Thank you so much. And I was thinking about not wearing it because of the awful loss to the Cowboys. And then Ollie sent me, this guy had written this open letter to the Falcons and posted it on Twitter or something. And he's 28 years old and he was saying, I can't be a Falcons fan anymore. And it was this long diatribe of nonsense. And I hated it so much because I was like, who is this guy? Like, he's not a real fan. He's just like, we lose to the Cowboys in week 2 and he's jumping off the Falcons train at 28 years old. Like, I don't know. I hated it. So I was like, I'm doubling down on the Falcons now.
Okay.
I'm never going back. So
There you go.
yeah.
Who's your
That's how
team,
we
by
do
the
it.
way, James? Obviously, you grew up close to Philly, didn't you?
Yeah. So I mean, Patriots will forever be my team now.
Yeah.
But
Prior to that,
yeah, the Eagles are definitely like my number two.
so I was going to ask you about that. So obviously, all your mates, all your friends lived around Philadelphia. So I'm guessing they're all pretty diehard Philly fans. Brad, of course, said he's not really fussed about football apart from when he's watching you play.
Yeah.
But did you Philly friends kind of give you shit when you didn't win the game, or were they trying to say if you win it, we win either way? What was it like?
Yeah, it was kind of the latter. Like they were like, oh well, we really can't lose because we either get to see the Eagles win their first, or get to see our close friend or family member
When it's third.
win. Yeah, so win my third. Yeah, so it was kind of a win-win for them. There was a lot of we had close to like 30-35 people at that Super Bowl.
Oh, nice.
And
Yeah.
I'd say probably 25 of them were wearing Eagles stuff.
Tops.
I had like my wife's cousin was wearing my college uniform over top of an Eagles jersey. So
Okay.
like, as soon as we lost,
Straight off.
he took it off, and then they all came to our after party. Of course.
Oh no! Did you have to avoid them?
So yeah, well then they were so happy, because the Eagles fans, like, they never had won.
Never win.
Yeah,
it was like they finally got there. Like grown men were crying, and yeah, so they were like having a ball, and everyone else is like super like kind of just, it's like dire situation when you lose a Super Bowl and then go to the after party. It's like real weird, but they were having a ball.
That's the first time you'd ever lost, isn't it? So that would have been especially weird seeing the confetti drop and it wasn't Patriots colors.
Yeah, it was like, oh man, super strange. And the only thing that really made it any better was that the following year we got back and we won it, so but yeah, that would have been weird if that was like my last one. It would have been weird, but glad we won that last one. So
you're joining us on the James Develin recalls his worst moments in football.
yeah, can we talk about the wins or what?
Yeah,
let's talk about the good times.
What was the Belichick team talk like after that? Sorry, I just got to ask that.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, it was actually very positive.
Yeah.
I think there's no use in beating a dead horse. Everybody was kind of down, and it was just, be proud of what we've done to get here. Obviously tonight didn't go the way it did, but we fought hard, that kind of thing. And just, and then a lot of just like the housekeeping stuff at the end of the season. And but it was more like kind of like picking us up, because he knew everyone was in a bad mood and kind of disappointed. But there was a lot to be proud of that year. We had a lot of injuries, and we were battling through like without Julian, and so we overcame a lot to get there. So be proud of that. But obviously, like, let's let this motivate us the next year, and it did.
Which is all that matters.
Yeah, exactly.
Going back to the previous year before that, Dave might want to take his headphones out just for 5 minutes or so.
Yeah.
There he goes.
Because it's also in reference to what happened to the Falcons on the weekend as well, because you got to like halfway through the fourth quarter in that game and Dallas were moving and you could feel the game slipping away from them. In the same way in that Super Bowl, when we were watching it, you were watching it and it was like, this is just clinical perfection from this offense. They're going to get this back and they're going to win. From an outsider's point of view, you never really felt that it was in doubt at a certain point in that fourth quarter.
Absolutely.
Do you feel that when you're in the huddle? Do you notice that? Because obviously you're always thinking, we're always in this, we're still in this, because you're trying to be positive anyway, even when you're down. But is there a point where you kind of look around and kind of all go, we fucking got this? Like this.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, when we started feeling that momentum swinging, we were all like, there's no way that we're not going to win this game. like, and then there was a few critical moments that like had like this play was, if it goes our way, we're still in it. If it doesn't, we are done. And those couple moments, like they were coming, and then they would go our way, and then the next one would come, and it would go our way, and then like finally we're like, oh man, there's no way.
Stopping.
There's no way that
it seemed inevitable.
Were you on the field or were you on the sidelines when Edelman had that juggle kind of catch between his legs?
I was on the sideline. Yeah.
Okay. So did you get a good view of that? Because that was insane. I think that's one of the most ridiculous.
I couldn't believe it. I thought it was an incomplete pass, and then ended up just watching it like everybody else, and I was like, oh my God, he caught that thing, because he came off and he was like, I caught it, like there was no question. And we were like, I don't know, Jules. And then like you watch it, and that was nuts. So plays like that, and then plays like the Dante Hightower strip sack, and them getting a penalty and knocking them out of field goal range, like when we needed it. It was crazy, the things that were happening, the 2-point conversions, all of those to go convert, like we just like they only need one of those dominoes to fall their way, and it would have stopped our swing. But I'm just glad it did. And so the way that game went, getting down to such a big lead, we kind of stopped running the ball. So I was essentially on the sideline for the entire last 3 quarters of the game. Until the very end, and then we
punched it in.
So you're on with James White. You were on,
I got in the play before that, and we were through the ball, unfortunately. But I remember, man, I was like, I just was sitting there on the sideline, like had the best seat in the house, and watching this thing, and like hearing people, just kind of feeling that vibe of like Tom and the offense, and just like all the coaches were they were just like one play at a time, and we really like bought into it. And then things started working, and then these big plays were coming, and we just focused on winning that play, and then it would like kind of just snowball effect, and ended up winning. That was
I can't imagine the like come down from something like that, because your adrenaline must be just jacked up for like, well, I guess the last hour and a half of that, especially. I mean, you're kind of throughout, you're kind of feeling it, but just coming down from that, did it kind of just hit you all at once? Like once you were kind of away from the pitch, and you just kind of, does the mind and body just go, woof, just shut down?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely did. I mean, especially later in my career, the immediate like perspective thing that I would always kind of get after a good game, because the games where I was like on such a high, a mental and emotional, spiritual, everything was like just so lit up. But then I would get home, or in that game, like I'd see my family, and my kids were like that immediate like snap back to reality. So I remember after that game, I was frantic trying to find my family, because it was like even more than this most recent Super Bowl win. It was like such a last second win. Everything was just nuts, right? So I'm running around trying to find my family. Finally find them. My son, who was it was his first birthday the day before. And he was like real sick. He had a fever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he was like crying his head off. So we're like trying to celebrate, but all the while my 1-year-old son is like just screaming his head off, right?
He's a Falcons fan.
All our pictures are like me and my wife like smiling so big, and he's just like sobbing. Right? So it was just like that was my immediate like, all right, get off this pedestal. You got to be dad again. And then that kind of like that really followed me the rest of my career. Like, no matter what, wins, losses, I was always going home and just like immediately kind of snapping back to like reality, because at the end of the day, football, only means so much. It's really like, what you have at home that truly counts. So.
Yeah, very true. I think some players seem to kind of lose perspective on that as well, that they just have that as all they have, and then when they retire, the reason why they seem to go so wayward is because they haven't got the support network or the, like you said, family life to go with it. It's just it's a shame to see that, because you should be having that sort of, that should be kind of taught to you as you're going through your whole career, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I and that's really come to, fruition the past few months. Just like kind of in this retirement thing, is I realized, like, even where I'm, sitting at home now on Sundays instead of, on the field playing, and I'm watching. It's like, well, really, like, that doesn't really mean all that much, because when you're in it, like, oh man, Sunday's everything, and then you win, and then the whole rest of the week is like all about that or the next one. But like now I'm at home and I watch it, and then as soon as the game's off, you just turn the TV off and you're like, oh, well, that's over.
Yeah.
So it's like it really sets things in perspective.
You're
like,
a civilian now.
Yeah, so and like now I really realize like what truly, is like my motivation in life, and that's like my wife and my kids, and now I get to spend a lot more time with them, and it's really cool. Yes, it's been interesting, kind of, finding my identity again outside of the game of football.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. Is it now a case of, are you setting yourself goals as you go? Did you kind of retire? And I know it was obviously a premature thing to perhaps what would have been ideal, but at the same time, was there always something in the back of the head that you thought, I want to go into that once football finishes, or is it still like finding your feet kind of out in Brooks style in the world?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of was brought on a little prematurely, so I didn't really have like exact plans on where to go. I think I'm kind of picking them up now, and then as soon as I retired and then COVID got in like real serious, it kind of like put a 6-month
hiatus and
all that stuff. I was trying to like look into some business opportunities, and then calling real estate agents and stuff, and then all of a sudden like all that stuff froze. So starting to pick back up, like I live in Jersey, like I said, Jersey kind of opened back up pretty completely in September. So past 3 weeks I've been kind of back on the road trying to find my way. But I really been thinking about starting up a podcast, maybe doing something in the UK. I think I was thinking about
maybe hanging out with 3 guys every week.
Yeah, I was going to say, there is a podcast.
I was thinking maybe calling mine the 6 Picks.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
I've got to say, James, give me real
interviews
beard
over
here. What's your beard routine?
Yeah. What's up?
What did you say,
Yeah,
James?
you give me real bad beard envy right here, because it's such a wonderfully manicured beard.
Oh yeah.
What products are you using? What are you using to trim it? What's the regimen here? Because I need the help to try and get the length there.
Dude, absolutely nothing, man. This is just
really
homegrown. Yeah, I kind of went through a couple phases where I was using like the beard wax and like trimming it, and like even doing like conditioner, like getting like this special beard shampoo. Yeah. And then I just was like, you know what, this is all a little too much, and I just kind of let it go all natural. I don't like, I used to always shave under here. Now I just let it go.
You just going Fitz magic on us, are you?
Yeah. A little bit.
Nice. Needs to be a bit bigger. Bigger.
Every once in a while, I shave up on my.
The top lip is the issue, isn't it? Yeah. So it starts curling back into your mouth.
Yeah. Eating and like I was eating like a piece of peanut butter toast earlier. I had peanut butter like all over stuff. Yeah. But
chicken wings and ribs are what does me as well. Those are the ones that get everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But my wife always likes when I trim it up a little bit, and I can kiss her without hairs getting in the lips and stuff. Yeah, so.
You ever had beard-offs with Fitzmagic? Obviously, because when he was at the Jets and you guys played each other a fair bit, was there kind of a look across the field of like?
No, because we always had a slew of guys with good beards, like especially late in the year. Jules always grew his out.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And
then like Rob Ninkovich a couple years back, he had a strong beard, super like clean and fit always. So we had some good beards, but yeah, Fitz and I used to talk because he was a Harvard guy. I know we would always kind of keep like an eye out for other Ivy League guys as we were playing. And Jets actually had a number of them. They had a guy from Columbia, Penn. They had Brandon Copeland played there for a while, and then Josh
Friend of the show.
Martin there. Yeah.
Yeah,
we've
we had
had
one,
Brandon on,
had one
yeah.
a few weeks ago. Yeah,
All right. Yeah. Well, he's a Patriot now.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
he's
He's
doing
getting
pretty
some
well as well,
snaps.
from what we see. Yeah.
Yeah, he is doing well, man. So, yeah, we always kind of look out for those Ivy League guys because we're like a small little fraternity, and rarely do you see another guy from Brown or a guy, I'm sure like a guy from Harvard. There's quite a few from Harvard now, but like schools rarely meet, so it's kind of just expanded to the whole league.
Did Carl Juszczyk go to Harvard? He was a Ivy League guy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Do you know? Did you speak to him a lot?
Yeah, when he was earlier in his career, when he played for the Ravens, we played him a couple times, and we would talk then. But then when he went to San Francisco, we only played him that one time out in San Fran.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would always kind of catch up. I mean, we were the rare like fraternity of Ivy League, but also fullback. So it was
and fullbacks that actually had an impact and stuff.
Yeah. Oh man, he's so dynamic. I was a little bit more of like the old school meathead fullback that just
Hit people,
tried to battering ram people. Like he catches the ball, runs the ball.
Yeah, he's got great hands. Yeah,
he's like really, really a dynamic player for them. It's been cool to watch him grow into that.
But you guys kind of made it, don't take this the wrong way, but made it a sexy position again, if you know what I mean. Like the Patriots, when we spoke to you before the Rams Super Bowl, that was actually a big talking point of the I-form coming back into fashion. And, you were leading the drive on that. And then with Juszczyk last year, it was, right, you've actually got I-form running, but you've also got the dynamism, there we go,
there you go,
of his hands kind of coming out the backfield as well. Like, it is a regrowth of a position that was falling well out of favor. As you said, the Pats didn't have a fullback before you joined.
Yeah. Oh man, I mean, just watching these past 2 weeks, I feel like, when it was Monday night, right? The Raiders played. First touchdown in the new stadium was their fullback, Alec Ingold. Patriots fullback scored last week. Janovich had a great game for the Browns. Like, there's all across the league, fullbacks are kind of making a name for themselves again, and it's really kind of cool to watch. I mean, unfortunately, my name's not out there in the hat as well, but it is cool to look back on that and just be like, oh man, we're coming back. And I kind of always knew it was coming. Like, my big thing when people would ask me, like, what do you think about, the fullback having the moniker of like being a dinosaur position or it's going extinct, right? I was always like, man, it'll come back around because everything in football just like cycles back around, because for a while everybody was throwing the ball so much, so defenses get smaller to counteract that, and then when defenses get smaller, they're more susceptible to run the ball, and so you need a fullback and big tight ends and pound it at them. So I think it's kind of starting to like kind of come back down that wave a little bit, and we'll start seeing some more smash mouth football. So.
Try telling some of these running quarterbacks to stay behind their fullbacks a little bit more, and they might survive a bit longer as well. Because there's a lot of guys out there that are running free, and it's like one play away from some of the most fun people in the league getting out of it, and it's horrible to watch at times.
Just see,
Kyler Murray's going to get hurt.
I was going to say, little Kyler Murray,
got to catch him first.
Small.
He's got jets on that boy.
He does, man. Did you see that little move he put in?
Yeah, this little stop start. Yeah. No, gone. Yeah,
it was like a legit move, right?
Yeah.
Some of the footwork from him is dirty, but like
in a great way.
But
he is quite small. I do get worried that a big linebacker will just one day level him and then may not come back for the same kind of level. A bit like Robert Griffin III did when he did his knee injury. He was obviously set the league on fire. Does his ACL, never the same player again.
Yeah,
which is a shame. You don't want to see that from these young players. You want to see them grow.
I know. Well, we've had enough injuries, Jazz, just from week 2.
ACL Sunday, wasn't it?
Oh man, that was tough.
Sucks.
Yeah.
Is it different as a player? I guess because like fans, particularly like pickup fans, guys that don't really invest in it but kind of watch it and maybe play, and it always seems to come down to like NFL fantasy. Will watch it and see a player go out, and they'll be like, "Oh no, now my fantasy team's ruined." It's like, actually, no, that guy might have like real problems and like real injuries that you've got to deal with. I guess it's different for you when you watch it and you see that, and it hits home even more compared to what Johnny on the sofa kind of things.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Cause it's all like that. You kind of like feel like you're leaving like your brothers down, or you're letting them down, I should say. And, I mean, I had that happen in 2015. I broke my leg in the preseason, and I was like, just a mess because I was really looking forward to that season. I had a good preseason, had a good training camp. And then everything kind of like, it's out of your control, but you get hurt and you're done for the year. You're just like, kind of as an afterthought, and yeah, it's tough. Like it's tough on the psyche as a competitor to have that happen, but at the same time, you kind of you use that time in a different way, and you kind of like start to look at the game a little differently because you're not playing, and it kind of gives you a taste of like, well, now I have some time, I can think about some other things, and but it's a tough thing to see. I mean, guys put everything they got into this game, and for just some random thing to happen where they get hurt, it's a knee, an ankle, a head, whatever. It is definitely a tough thing to see because just so much goes into it,
In some ways, it's a shame that the team's sort of mantra with that is kind of next man up. So you care that your teammates down, but you also have to make sure you're there to support the guys coming in. So you don't say Saquon Barkley's a good example of this. The guy who played Devonta Freeman's going to go and replace him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's all well and good the Giants O-line being like, "Oh yeah, come on, we're going to look forward to this," but you know that Saquon was far better, and you obviously care about him because you know that next year you need him rather than Devonta Freeman.
Yeah.
So I just can't imagine the mind space. Yeah, completely.
Yeah, it's definitely strange, and I was gonna touch on that. Is there's definitely a sense of like, you gotta move on quick. Like when you're not the guy that got hurt, like you can't really let that like kind of consume you. You have to kind of like just like, oh man, we're gonna miss you, but refocus on like, all right, get this guy up to speed and get him going so that the drop off isn't as like impactful. So it's the injuries are definitely part of the game, but they are a strange part, and but everybody's got to deal with them.
Yeah, I'm guessing when you broke your leg in 2015 as well, you're still kind of establishing yourself on that team. What kind of a contract were you on? That must have been quite scary. Like, were you on like a 2-year deal then, or?
So yeah, that was just like I kind of established myself in 2013, and then 14, and then 15. I was really feeling good. I think it was my last year of my contract, and then they just offered me 1 year, just kind of like see how you do. There was even like an injury clause if something were to come up. Which it was like another like, well, you got to prove yourself now again. And then finally after that, I came back. I was stronger, and
I just kept going.
Yeah, just kept going.
Yeah, wicked. I was actually you mentioned 2013. I was looking back at some of your highlights because I knew you were coming on, and you had that play in 2013 against the Texans. It probably when you have interviews and stuff, I bet everyone brings it up because you shrug off like 4 tackles, and then go into the end zone. Is that your kind of? Have you got a? You're in the trenches, so a lot of the time you're doing the dirty work. You're not getting, you have touchdowns, but you're not getting loads of them. Was that your favorite one because it really felt like you were kind of, I'm in the NFL. I'm like. Or do you have like a favorite play or?
Oh man, that was definitely like my favorite, like spotlights on me play.
Yeah,
because that was like one of the first times they ever gave me the ball, and it was kind of like a microcosm of like my entire journey to get in the NFL because I was bouncing around to Arena League, UFL.
Uh-huh.
You know, people just pretty much saying like, no, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. And then all of a sudden, just like, you know, kind of got my foot in the door, and then the Patriots took a chance, and then I finally like was in. So I always kind of like, you know, kind of bringing that all together in that play. But I would say that my favorite part of playing the position of fullback was hitting and blocking. And I had some pretty good ones. I think my favorite play, bar none, was probably the Super Bowl winning touchdown with Sony.
Yeah.
Hit Mark Barron pretty good, and like almost dumped him. That was the only thing I regret.
Didn't get the
like,
pancake.
Because my left hand slipped. I have a picture of it.
Right.
And like my left hand slipped off his shoulder pad, so I didn't have like the leverage. But if I did like just bury him, that would have been awesome. But yeah, that was one of my favorite ones because it was such an impactful play on, you know, the biggest game of the year. So
you kind of had a weird array of Super Bowls. Obviously, going to 4 with 3 victories, you have the madness of Seattle as your first one, but you have the cool moment of being the first guy that Brady hugs once he takes the final knee, which is like, that's a cool Super Bowl bit. Like, you then have obviously the comeback, which everybody's like, oh, it's never going to happen, but it does. And then your third victory comes in like a game that neutrals and critics would be like, oh, that's so boring, but was actually like a real slog and grind.
Yeah,
and
perfect for a fullback.
Touchdown is that kind of sloggy, grindy, get it done in that way. Is there a favorite one that you have of not necessarily which meant more, but kind of the style of winning it almost?
Yeah, I think, well, I'd say style of winning, my favorite was this last one because we were running the ball at the end of the game, trying to kill the clock. I was getting a lot of play. Even before that, like before we scored, we were doing that like 2 tight end and fullback thing where we were spreading it all out and throwing the ball, and they were having trouble like stopping it. So I was out there like, you know, heavily involved. I wasn't so much in the Falcons game, obviously, and then in Seattle, like sprinkled in there. But if I had to say my favorite Super Bowl overall was Seattle. I think it was my first, so everything was like I was wide-eyed. I had nothing to compare it to, and the pageantry of the Super Bowl is like nothing else I've ever experienced.
Oh man, yeah. I think that we were reviewing Super Bowls before the season started. We had all this time we were locked down for like three and a half months in the UK.
Yeah.
And the 3 of us, we were doing the podcast, and we'd watch some games, like old games on YouTube and stuff.
That was fun.
We'd sync them up, so we watched them at the same time, and we'd be on Skype and stuff. And we watched that one, and we watched a few others as well. And I really think it might be the best that I've seen. I mean, obviously, I've only been watching football for, I don't know, 15 years, something like that, 10 years properly. But that's the best one that I've seen because it had this great mix of offense and defense and running the ball and throwing. I think there was just a bit of everything. And then obviously the ending's really dramatic. But even if you take away that play, I still feel like it was just an absolute classic. 2 teams that were just amazing, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of the ups and downs and you know, I mean, their defense, our offense matched up, and then their offense and our defense, and like the final, like you said, the final couple plays were just like insane between, you know, Dante, like he was pretty much using one side of his body, throws his body to stop Lynch, and then they throw the ball and Malcolm intercepts it, and just the story behind Malcolm Butler. Then like everything just like it was so cool. So that one was very special.
It is actually just outrageous, just hearing you talk about your Super Bowl wins, that you were involved in some of these absolute classics.
Amazing
that
games.
one, if it was just that one, that would be enough. But to be involved in the Falcons one, which you could also make a case, maybe that's the best Super Bowl ever because of the comeback. And then the Eagles one, I know you lost.
Even the Eagles one.
That was the best. That was the best shootout ever.
Such high scoring,
I know. I said after that, I was like, man, this is great for the game of football. Because if you're a young kid or
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't know much about football. That's the first game you watch, man. You're hooked.
Mm.
That was an awesome game.
And then you watch the Rams game the next year and you realize it's not all like that.
Yeah, disappointed.
Yeah.
Just this big guy blocking everybody. This is rubbish.
I
Look
know,
at
right?
Brady again. Come on.
He's got a cool beard,
It's
though.
fun for
so-
me. Yeah.
Who are you
It's-
swinging at on that bit of a brawl at the end of the Seattle one? Did you get a shot off on anybody?
No, man, I was just trying to get Gronk off of whoever he was with. I think
Oh,
it was
right.
like
He
Bruce
was
Irvin or
having a
something.
few.
But yeah, I did. I actually saw a clip of that, and it did look like I swung on somebody, but I wasn't. I was just trying
Okay.
to separate.
Peacemaker.
If you say
Yeah,
so,
peacemaker.
I'll have to go back and look at it now. I don't know.
No, I'm definitely more of a peacemaker. Even though I played like a physical position, I was just trying to break it up.
And were you a bit of a smack talker on the field as well, or were you quite
No,
kind of
not at
polite?
all. I did not
Just hit
open
people
my
and that's
mouth.
it.
Yeah, I did not open my mouth because I don't know if you could tell. I mean, with you guys' accents, I feel like I sound like a Neanderthal over here.
Not at
But,
all, man.
Hey, just look like it with the beard.
But I just don't.
Oh, the beard's way
oh.
too well trimmed to be Neanderthal.
I'm not great with words, so I let my play speak for itself, and
I think that's scarier.
in the huddle. Yeah,
Because I think if someone was talking to me about, okay, he's obviously getting the zone. If someone's just silent and bashing me in the face repeatedly, it's like, this guy's got something wrong with him.
yeah, exactly. Right.
Intimidate. This is one thing. Intimidation by not opening your mouth.
It's up
Yeah.
to your imagination, then Like,
Well, I kind of
That's
it's
the scariest thing.
It's
Yeah.
a slightly different tack, but I always loved how Andrew Luck always said "good hit, man" after he got taken down. He's like, "Oh, good hit,
Sure.
man. Thank
Yeah.
you, thanks for that. That's great." And
I
the
know.
guys who hit him must have just been thinking like, "Did I hit? I thought I hit him hard. Like he is really happy that I hit him. It's
Yeah.
so good."
It's reverse psychology, that, isn't it? If you try and take
I know.
someone who's really angry and be really nice to
Very
them,
clever.
they might then lose their anger and then lose their edge.
maybe
That's my take on it.
I did always like pat people on the head and like, oh, I would always say good knock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, after you concuss them, you'd then whack them on the head and be like, "Hey, don't worry, buddy, shake it off."
Yeah. I just tried to be nice to everybody,
Just finally on kind of the word side of things, we did speak, and thankfully to Brad, and I have to thank Brad for giving us
Yeah, shout out to Brad on
getting us
this
to
one.
set this up and everything, because we really appreciate that from him. And also thoroughly appreciated being able to drop the weird knowledge bombs on you about your childhood and just
dude, that was one of my favorite, and that was probably my favorite interview of my entire NFL career, because I was so blindsided by that. I had no idea, and you started pulling these things out, and I'm like, how do they know this? I was like, is this stuff online? And then you finally said Brad, and I was like, oh man, that guy. He's one of the
He
nicest
stitched
guys.
you up.
And I still, I mean, I was texting with him obviously before this, but almost every day I talk to Brad, and our group of friends is super close, and man, he's one of the best. He'll probably watch this, so I gotta say nothing but the
You got
best.
some
That's
nice
actually-
things, yeah.
James, that kind of leads us on to in a similar vein. We're having Shane back on the podcast soon.
Yeah.
Is there something that you could help us drop in so that
We
we
can
freak?
blindside him.
Yeah, we can freak him out a little bit.
Oh man, with Shano,
Yeah.
he was a pretty clean cut character, man. I mean, he's well spoken. I'd have to think on that one, honestly.
I don't mean anything dark, by the way. I'm just
Well,
saying.
it can be as dark as you like.
Well, it can be. It
It's
can be.
ruled
but
out.
that might not endear us very much.
you owe him a debt of gratitude, though, don't you? Because Shane told me that he gave you some advice when you were trying for your first child.
Oh man, he did. He did, yeah. Because I was always, I would always stop, like trying,
Yeah.
a few days before the game to kind of like let my testosterone build. But he said, no, why don't you take that a few days past, and then shortly after, I got my wife pregnant for the first time, and we were trying for like 11 months.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yeah, before we finally, before it finally took. So Shane definitely helped us along, man.
Well,
And he finally took his own advice, it seems. 'Cause-
Yeah,
Yeah,
did, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, big
Very
ups
cool.
to Shano. Yeah, he was such a good dude. We were locker mates for a couple of years, and yeah, he definitely helped me along early on in my career on a bunch of numerous ways. So yeah, he's a good dude, man.
Do you enjoy just going back to the media and getting off any other awkward family topics?
Yeah.
Nah, man.
This is Devlin. I hope won't be listening to this or anything like that.
Nah, she's down with the kids, but yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. Shane and I joked about all that with her before, so it was yeah.
It's nothing new then, at least.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
When you were talking to the media, though, because this was something that in a few of the books that I've read recently over lockdown and stuff has been discussed a lot by some of the athletes that I've read about. It's that, game face on. And when we spoke at the Super Bowl, there was that immediate, like, jokey, fun questions. And as soon as I asked about the game, it was like, yeah, we're just going to try really hard and we're going to do and execute and everything like that. Is there an element from a player's side almost of, like, frustration? Because there are guys that don't want to talk to the media and the guys that do and can and you almost are restricted though in anything that you can say, because there is the worry that if you say anything outside of that, it then gets blown out of proportion. Is there an element of frustration on the player's side as there is on the same side that, as a journalist, I certainly know there is an element of frustration on our side when that happens?
Oh yeah. I think being in the media, I can only imagine, is one of the toughest jobs, because you got to walk in there and that these players are like kind of like dreading it, and so there's always like that balancing act where you're like, I want to be nice and I want to be like, open, but at the same time, like, that people are going to see this, and so you don't want to, like, put off too much information or make yourself look bad, but you also don't want to seem like a square that you're just gonna like say like the most prototypical answers. So there's definitely just like that constant like balancing act, and like guys just hate that stress. Honestly, it's not that they hate the questions. I think they just hate that they have to like delegate. They have to be like that middleman. Like we're speaking for the team, but like the team is kind of bigger than us, so
and you get dumb questions like you do.
I just would
must get the worst questions at times.
I mean, especially with like some of like the scandals that went through New England, like there were some times where you're just like, I don't even want to see these guys, because they're just going to ask all these dumb questions that have no like real
nothing to do with football.
Exactly.
Just looking for a headline. That's all they're doing.
Exactly, man.
Yeah.
So, definitely get frustrated at times, but it is part of the game and part of why people love it. So,
how much media training do you get for that as well? Sorry, Ollie.
Go on.
What kind of training?
Yeah, they kind of say to you, right, here's a microphone, here's how you talk to people. Say this, say that.
A little bit. There's like, we usually during training camp, we'll have like some, high level PR guy. We usually had this guy that was when 9/11 happened, he was like the kind of the guy that they like pushed out to the pedestal, like to speak to the media.
Wow.
So, oh man, that was his last name was like something bomb. But anyways, he was a Navy guy and like an admiral, and he would come and speak to us and kind of give us like the rundown of how to like keep our answers like to the point and crisp and all that kind of stuff. But they weren't like every week like, oh no, this is what you can and can't say. He kind of set up,
This is why you need to get yourself a dictaphone, get yourself a media accreditation under the Return the Picks podcast name. As soon as you can start getting into games around the place, start going around and check, because players love talking football with other players. That's one thing that like civics like us cannot do, because there's not that same rapport. Whereas they know when you come in that you're not going to be there looking for a story. You're there to talk football, and you can speak the same language, man. So we'll have you as our roaming reporter. Not necessarily paid, but
we can't pay you any money, but
whatever you guys got, Shane, with the gig with Shane. Just sign me right up, man. my schedule just opened up, so
brilliant. Well, I think we're paying Shane in tequila, it seems, so that's his currency.
Okay, well, you could pay me in pre-workout if that works.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, which pre-workout?
Man, probably Amino Energy by Optimum
Okay.
Nutrition. That's my
That
thing.
sounds like a boring name. They've normally got names like Monster or Rage or.
Of course, the best was the
Venom or
original
something.
Jacked, wasn't it? The original Jacked was the one you wanted.
3D. Jack
Yeah,
3D. man.
that's what you wanted.
The original thing.
It's now illegal.
Yeah, but yeah, before they took the illegal stuff out, it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've taken all that stuff like the Hemo Rage and all that kind of stuff. Just kind of simple, clean stuff now. Just 'cause I'm getting older, man.
Well, we will. Well, next time we'll get Shane on tequila for half an hour before it. You on Jacked for half an hour before it, and then we'll set up a Zoom call for just you two. We'll record the whole thing and see how it goes.
Just see how it goes.
All right, I love that.
Might be scary.
Man, it is 8:45 here, so we know you have
we'll
to
let
get
you go.
off, man, but really appreciate the time. It was so nice to chat, and look,
Yeah, man, it's been great.
anytime you're free, we would be more than happy to have you back on, mate, if we can.
Yeah,
And
man.
hopefully,
My schedule is pretty free right now. So just between wrangling my kids and trying to get them to go to sleep, I'm pretty free, man. So I'd love to join you guys again. This was a lot of fun.
awesome, man. And we'll try and give you a tour of a different house next time. You saw a lot of the Jazzes at the moment.
Yeah, you got a nice
You see indoors, outdoors. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So, I should rephrase it. It's not American football teams being annoying. I kind of like it when fan bases call out American football teams and sports teams on their crap on social media. So the Jets put something up this week of like, did you check out this angle of Sam Darnold's touchdown throw?
Ooh,
Like, why are you
tone deaf, isn't it? The
And-
Falcons do stuff like that on Instagram.
They all do, yeah.
And it's kind of like that's their job, but you should read the fucking room a little bit. Like, it's like I don't know. It's kind of like a stand-up comedian, like making a joke about 9/11 in New York, like 2 weeks after or something. It's like you can make a 9/11 joke, but not then.
Yeah.
Yep.
You got to give it some time.
Let it breathe. Like, don't. Yeah, and the Falcons have been doing that since Sunday, and every post, all the comments are "fuck you."
Well, that's
you lost this game. Get rid of everyone.
Doing that. I love, like, underneath the Jets one, there was one guy that was like, hey, got any shots of us tackling on that 3rd and 31 and stuff like that? And it's like,
God.
but that's what happens when the media you
Jets.
read is all in-house media, and that's why it's good to have independent media, whether it's, idiots like us talking on a podcast or actual, like, Fox Sports and people being like, the Jets are terrible, we need to bring them down a peg or two. Because if you let the teams control the narrative, it's like, oh, we lost, but hey guys, did you check out the way that Sam Darnold took the knee? Oh,
Look at Ridley. We got Ridley.
Yeah, I can't imagine what. I didn't look at Falcons' social media. I didn't see. I was tired of looking at the social.
Well, I sent you the snapshot of them saying, Matt Ryan, we need new QB. We need new QB, guys. We need new QB. That's definitely the problem in Atlanta.
For that many yards, all the touchdowns, no interceptions,
We
no
need a
turnovers from the offense.
Well, those
a couple of defensive stops, really, isn't it?
Those idiots that are saying that were probably saying that in 2015, the year before he was MVP and we went to the Super Bowl. So,
yeah, I mean, no one can point the blame at Ryan for that loss. No one can. All you can look is the defense not getting any stops whatsoever. And then the special team is, when it's not gone 10 yards, if the special teams of the Falcons just jump on it.
They're just so scared, Jazz. They're just so scared. You can't play scared like that. You can't play scared.
Just go and claim it.
Level.
Just go and claim it.
No.
So,
like, I can fall over. I can fall over.
You can.
Yeah. Just fall on the ball and it's all over.
Because if they'd fallen on it and then they go on to it doesn't matter. Actually, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no. If the Falcons had fallen on it and it had slipped out from underneath them and Dallas
they'd be the same.
Right. Yeah. Like, at least you've done something to try and do what you meant to do.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, we can say that. We say that because that's what we know how it turned out. However, if they jumped on it at the 5 yards, it got 5 yards, and they touched it, at that point, it didn't look like it was going to make 10 yards. So then you'd be saying, well, it doesn't never going to go 10 yards, so what are they doing?
Yeah,
so actually, either way, they're a bit screwed.
Take it. No, you take it at 9. It's just panic because you're not prepared for the situation because the onside kick
Poorly
hasn't been
coached.
anything for some time, and maybe, as some people speculated, people still don't quite know the rules on stuff,
Must be.
which
It
is
must be.
also baffling. We've just had a guy on our podcast that is so professional and consistent with his job as throughout his career, and then you've got other guys playing at that same level that might not know the rules of what they're meant to be doing on an NFL
Because, I
field.
mean, that Cowboys guy that recovered it, it was like he was just backing up, like he was boxing the players out as it was going forward. So he was just there. He's literally right there.
If you're a Falcons player, you can push him onto it.
There you go.
If you push the Cowboys player onto it, then he's touched it before 10 yards. So
it's a legal
nullified.
touch.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Anyway,
angry about it.
let's move on.
Yeah, sorry, man.
Oh, dear.
That's all right.
Julio Jones trade, the thing I was chatting with Richard Graves about, he came out with on Monday.
Very interesting point. Yep, very interesting.
Would you like the idea of perhaps cashing in on Julio, getting a first-round pick and attempting to rebuild off the back of it and making Calvin Ridley your number one, bearing in mind that Calvin's probably getting all of these touchdowns because of Julio Jones?
It's an interesting thing. I don't know whether I want it to happen. I kind of don't want, he's one of my favorite players and one of my favorite Falcons players as well. So I don't want it to happen because it would bum me out. And I don't know if it would kind of, we're a long way from being, for competing really in the NFC, I see right now. So I don't know if I could, from an organizational point of view, from a GM point of view, Dimitrov should consider something like that. But I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with the Falcons. Is Dimitrov going to be in a job next year? They could blow the whole thing up. I mean, it's not just Dan Quinn. It is Dimitrov bringing in these players who have not worked out on defense. He's made those draft picks and they haven't worked out. So I can't just blame Dan Quinn. I need to blame the personnel that's come in as well. So
to a
I don't know.
But some of the players he's had have been quite good. Unfortunately, he's had some injuries, so you got to excuse that a little bit. But when he was at Seattle, granted he had world beaters across the back, actually across the entire defense, they're kind of world beaters. But the Falcons' defense that went to the Super Bowl was not a bad defense at all. But it seemed like they just got out-coached completely. And if you're a defensive guru, if you will, you can't be out-coached like that. And if you need to have star players to be any good at your job, clearly you're just not that good at your job. But they're just saying on the gun.
I was just going to say that, but it's not. I mean, forget the Super Bowl loss. I mean, they got gassed out. It was a kind of freak occurrence. They played well for nearly 3 quarters. That defense. It's more just like your regular week 6 game against, I don't know, the Eagles or whoever.
Don't worry about that one.
I'm just picking a team out of the air. It's just against the Bucks or whoever in the division. It's like those are the games that he doesn't seem to be able to just have a competent defense for. There's stars on that defense. There's players that and there's other teams in the league where you don't know many players on the defense, but it's so well coached that they can they can put out a team that's going to function well enough that if you score 39 points, you'll win a game. He doesn't need that. It's what's so frustrating about the Falcons. They don't need to have a top 10 defense. They just need to have a top half defense in the NFL. If they had the 15th best defense over the last 4 years, then that would change a lot. I'm not saying we'd have won multiple Super Bowls or anything, but it would have made things very interesting. And we would have made the playoffs. We would have made the playoffs every year.
That window would look far more open than it does now in terms
Absolutely. We just need a defense which is well organized.
Is it culture though, then?
Coaching.
Yeah, but is that then culture? And then that comes back to perhaps Dan Quinn. That also can be pulled back to the Super Bowl loss. I mean, Shanahan's dealing with the same issue buts around him because of the Super Bowl loss and then throwing away the lead last year in the Super Bowl as well. I mean, if you're getting that deep into it and all you want is a basic defense, do you point a finger then at the culture of the franchise, particularly defensively?
Yeah, well, I think that Dan Quinn should be fired. I mean, I don't know about their support coaching staff enough. I don't know if they've got a coach that they like, whether it's probably not a special teams coach, but if it's a special teams coach, if it's the defensive coach, if it's an assistant coach, they should fire Dan Quinn now and put them in. I really feel that because I don't know what else they're going to see from Dan Quinn that's going to change things around. It would be miraculous if suddenly that defense clicked in week 3 against the Bears, and
Well, it might do
then
because
goes
the
the
Bears
rest of the
really aren't
season.
that great. I mean, I've got 2 things on that. First thing is, in terms of firing Dan Quinn, you look at what happened last year when they said this week might be the week he gets fired, and then they go win 6 games in a row against high-level teams. So I think in some ways it's motivation of the players, which doesn't help. The way that and then going back to the loss against the Falcons against the Cowboys, it just shows a weak underbelly. And I mean, like we're saying on the WhatsApp group during the week with Adam Gase is still living off that year with Peyton Manning as quarterback. So the minute Dan Quinn is still living off the Legion of Boom as his defense. So if you haven't done anything since then, and you haven't, even if you had, let's not call them subpar players, but not as good players as you had with Cam Chancellor and Sherman and Browner and Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
But if you haven't had the stars you had there, you still can't make the players you have better, then you're failing as a coach. Your job as a coach is to make the sum of your parts that you have better as a whole. That's what Bill Belichick is so brilliant at, for as an example. So if you have that and you haven't got someone that's doing the job properly, you have to get rid of them.
I know. He's got to go. He's got to go. But
at least you're not bringing in Devonta Freeman or Blake Bortles this week. The most uninspiring free agent hirings coming into the league. Like, oh, Blake Bortles is back. Live in fear, I guess, in Denver. Watch out for this guy.
In fairness, Jeff Driscoll looked pretty good last week.
I mean, he came in and did far better.
Risky, yeah.
He did not bad at all against the Steelers defense. I was a bit shocked.
I assume that he'll still be starting. They're not going to put Bortles in, but they just need to. But it's amazing that Dan Hansis was killing them. He was talking to Greg on the ATN podcast about it. And they quite rightly said they'd been saying it all off season. Everybody had been saying it. Why don't they bring in? Yeah, okay, you believe in Drew Lock, but bring in one of these veterans. You had like 3 proven veterans out there. Like, go and get one of them at least. I mean, and now it shows why you do that. Because
just a weird week, because then you have that, and then you have like Tyrod Taylor. It comes out that the doctor punctured him in the lung before last week's game, and like Justin Herbert was amazing.
Believe that.
What a debut! That was.
There is apparently a risk that can happen with those sort of things. Any sort of injections to the ribs, it's a risk.
It just sums up last week, Dr. Jazz. Thank you very much for the session being in again.
Hey, I called all the ACLs correct, so up yours.
Last weekend, with all the injuries, and Jazz is just on his sofa with no medical degree,
nailed them all.
Nailed them all. About what the injuries are.
Yeah. The only one I got wrong was Desmond Casey. I thought he broke his collarbone, but he was still in the game, so clearly he didn't. The rest of them on the money.
Fair enough. But yeah, that Tyrod Taylor thing just summed up.
Oh, so a real bummer.
Herbert looked really good career,
but
well, now they've got a real problem.
They do.
Of like, the plan obviously wasn't to bring him in that early, and I definitely think it's better for Herbert.
He can play, right?
That he only found out 20 to 30 seconds before kickoff.
He didn't have time to get in his head, and
there's no thought process around it. It's like, okay, and it's no pressure football. It's what I was saying about Nick Foles last week, and those sorts of players that as soon as they're the backup and come in, it's like, well, the one guy's already sucked already, so I can't do any worse. And Herbert goes in last week with, well, no one's going to expect anything from me when I've been told 20 seconds before the game that I'm playing, so I'll just go and enjoy it. And apparently he was calling over to the sideline and being like, this is great fun. Oh, I'm having this is awesome.
Fun, coach.
You guys have been doing this for like 5 years. This is amazing. Yeah, why are you not smiling?
It's exciting, and they've got a hell of a defense there. So, who knows? Then maybe they're not.
If they had Derwin James, though.
I know. He's so legit. Yeah.
Although I think their defense looks better against the Chiefs than those other teams. So I think that we'll get a better chance to see them in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if they were raising their games for Kansas City, because everybody.
That's why I think it is, because they always run them close.
But we'll probably come on to it at some point later on in the season. Something else I was going to touch on today, and we would do something far more at length on it, is moaning about teams not going for it on 4th down. Like, it's come into the league now in the last few years, partly because of Doug Peterson, I think. And we'll come on.
It's a percentage play, actually.
I'm getting angry about a team not going for it on 4th down. It's just the dumbest thing.
I agree, but I think that if if you believe in your players, then there is not to do it. But I think if you play every single down, every fourth down, like when we play on Madden, there's no punting. It's just fourth down.
Yeah,
Another down, try and get the yards. But
and
you have to
despite
also
all
be
the scrambling quarterbacks in the NFL, Jazz, it's not Madden. So,
Yeah.
and that's where the attitude is coming from. It's video game culture seeping into reality because people want entertainment
Totally
rather than actual
Yeah.
football. Oh, well, I guess we don't need to have a long conversation about it.
Covered it.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
I have nothing to add. I completely agree.
So we do have games coming up this week. Thankfully, recording on the Thursday, so we don't have to talk about Jags against the Dolphins because that is something that no one cares about. So instead, unless
I
you're,
reckon it's going to be high scoring that game.
I don't want to hear any.
Is that part of your bets, Jazz? Is it?
It's not. No, I never used the Thursday game.
Garner
I think
Minshew is boring to me.
It's part of mine actually. I've got the
Oh.
Jags. I've got the Jags to win.
We do have
Oh,
to talk about
Jesus.
Thursday night then, because this is going to date the podcast.
I don't have strong feelings about it. They're just
Start us with your bets, because if you're starting on Thursday night, we should start with you because you're the opening game of the week. So what have you got?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too interested. I'm just feeling Gardner Minshew. I'm just feeling it.
Minshew mania.
Yeah,
You're behind it.
He's going to take care of business against
Running
Miami.
wild all over you.
So, but it will be quite funny if my bet is done
It very well could be
tonight.
Yeah.
That'll be quite funny, and it'll probably, I'm not doing very well so far, so probably justly so. So what else have we got? I've got the Packers over the Saints.
Yeah, that's just easy money to me, that one.
It's just smart. I mean, the Saints looked pretty vapid, really, against.
Offense looks toothless.
Yeah,
football game.
I mean, I think the Vegas team, they're gonna make a lot of defenses look a little silly this year. I think that they've got enough weapons where they can put up 30 points on most teams, but the Saints on offense, it did not look good. So Green Bay Packers they're going to win that one. I'm very sure of it. And then I've gone for a little bit of spread betting, so we'll put one of those in. I've got the Falcons at -7.5 against the Bears.
Falcons -7.5?
Yeah.
Okay. What odds you got on that?
This is all part of the
7-4, but it's all part of my my overall returns.
Okay, that's okay.
I just think they're going to have a bounce back. The Bears aren't very good. It's fine. Look, I mean, the Falcons aren't going to have a good year, but they're going to take care of business.
It's just taking a 7-point spread because the spread that they actually have is 3. They're a 3-point favorite.
Yeah.
But you've gone for a super spread. I rate that a lot, Dave. That's bold.
Yeah.
I love that.
He's back in them.
Well, I love that.
But look, I mean, think about it though. I mean, even if the Falcons' defense is completely woeful, I think that offense is going to stay at the same level against the Bears, and the Bears' offense is not going to be able to keep up. So even if it is a shootout, they just don't have the firepower. So
Mitch Trubisky has got a good second half in week 1 and a good first half in week 2.
If he can put,
so maybe he can have a good game. I mean, it's impossible. We know of him, but
if you're going to see a very sad Dave if Mitch Trubisky tears the
you
Falcons
imagine
apart.
that
it's going to be a bad day. But
speaking about the Mitch Trubisky quickly,
go on.
I was obviously out with the 3 quarters. Dave was out with 6 quarters. Were you game 3, Ollie? Were you game 4?
I said
4, I think.
Week 4.
Okay, so
he's still got a chance.
He's got another game. So
I'd be surprised. He'd have to have a real shocker against. I mean, he's playing a good defense to kind of stay in his job because I don't think we're going to get a lot of pressures on him. I said
he'd play the first 4 games of the season, so technically I can have week 5. And
I mean, you're already the winner because me and Jazz are out. So.
Also, I think that Gizzy had 2 decent wins. 2 wins? 2 wins.
Yeah, 2 wins.
He's bought himself a bit of time.
He does. Yeah. Be surprising.
4 games better off than the Vikings right now.
The Dallas Cowboys, I have losing to the Seahawks. I'm backing the Seahawks to the hilt this year. I think they just look great. And I can't see. I think this would probably be a tight game. But I just can't see. I don't know. That Dallas defense is just so bad. So bad. They just didn't get any turnovers against the Falcons. They didn't really get any pressures. They don't seem to have a pass rush, which is kind of weird. I thought their defense looked better on paper, but it's not come together anyway.
And the offense turned the ball over, 3 times in the first quarter, something like that?
Yeah. I mean, I do think that their offense will come, that might be the spark against the Falcons, that second half where it kind of, they start racking up the points. But anyway, I think the Seahawks are going to win that. And then I've got the Rams to beat the Bills. which could undo me. The Bills are, I think that's going to be a very close game as well. It's going to be
a
pretty
fun one
cagey.
to watch.
Yeah, I just think that Allen's going to have a meltdown in the third quarter. I'm predicting he's going to have a meltdown because Aaron Donald's going to be in his face all day. So that's what I've got there, and then I've got
when the pressure's on because he's not a good quarterback, even though he leads the league in yards. Yeah. Oh, this season is already getting under my skin so much.
The Bengals.
Yeah, but he had a 1.7 last week. Oh, shut
up. He's super mad. The Bengals, I've got 8.5 plus 8.5 against the Eagles. So I think the Eagles really take care of business against the Bengals.
What's the odds on that?
8-15.
Okay.
So overall, I've got 62 £62 for my £1 bet.
Very nice. Very nice indeed.
So, yeah, I had to rank it up. I had to get a little bit creative because it's a tough week, wasn't it, to just do the money line?
There are a lot
I wasn't
of
getting anything,
quite obvious. I've got an 11-team accumulator that's only paying out 150 quid.
Yeah, I looked at that as well. Even at 14-1, there was up to like 900. It wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
So what I've got, I have, like Dave, I've got the Rams to beat the Bills. I took the Packers as well because they're both underdogs. So
are you spreading or are you?
These are money lines. Those two are money lines. I then have 3 spread bets. I've got the 49ers minus 4 points against the Giants. I've got the Falcons minus 3. And I've got the Raiders plus 6 against the Pats. And then that was talking about before, I threw a new market into it this week. So I've got an over-under on the game total. So I've got Texans Steelers over 45 points because I think that's going to be relatively high scoring. Because if you think of Jeff Driscoll managing to push the ball around on the Steelers defense, Deshaun Watson's far better than Driscoll is.
Yeah. That was a really tough one to pick for me actually this week, even on the money line.
I stayed away from it.
Feeling about it.
I couldn't even look at the spread. I just couldn't do it either.
It feels like is Deshaun Watson really going to go 0-3? I don't know. It feels like the Steelers are a great team, but they are going to lose some games this year. I don't know.
Absolutely.
It feels like a potential banana skin. I don't know why.
Remember, I said 12-4 at the beginning of the year, but whatever. But I think that if the Texans do go 0-3, they've gone 0-3 against the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Steelers, all of whom I have complete faith they'll make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So you're going against 3 of the best teams, and I think from my predictions start this year, like I said, 12-4 for the Steelers, probably 12-4 for the Ravens, or 13-3 for the Ravens, and the Chiefs are the Chiefs. So you've got 3 of the best teams in the NFL as a whole.
Is that the worst start to any season?
0-3. Oh, no, it's in terms of the teams to play.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy. The Falcons tend to have really bad schedules just because of our division and stuff.
That is pretty tough, actually.
That is nuts. I can't remember one that bad.
It's
true.
It's a brutal one to start, but I could easily see Steelers.
I know.
That's the thing.
It just seems like an odd one. I stayed away from it for that reason. But yeah, I think you're pretty safe over 45. Yeah.
That's what I think as well.
What'd you get on that?
I got 60. I think it was 69-1.
Nice.
69 something. But because I'm putting more than £1 on it, I can tell you what the overall total is. Not so it's difficult to remember the actual odd bit on it.
That's cool.
Fair enough. Right, so I'm going with I'm doing it again. I'm betting against the Eagles, so I'm the Bengals to win.
Man, okay. I did look at it. I look at that, Ollie, because the odds were great on it.
Yeah,
and then in my head I was like, no, it's not going to happen. They're gonna take care of business. So I went the other way. So it's going to be interesting.
They're going to be piping the booze into Lincoln Financial Field again.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at that game and thought there's no way the Eagles lose the first 3 games, and especially to the Bengals. But I thought actually, Joey Burrows looked pretty good. There's Mixon and Boyd and Green and
there's
Tate.
Weapons. I looked at it. I was scared.
Yeah, it all comes down to whether Miles Sanders can play. Basically, like if he
was it. So if he was out, I would pick the Bengals to win every game every day of the week. But because Sanders is back, I've got a better feeling about it.
The Bengals' offense is more than good enough to shred the Eagles' D at the moment. The Eagles' D is getting no pressure. It's quite abysmal.
I think that it will be a get-right game for Wentz, though. That's why I went the other way.
Game for Wentz.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, what are your other games? We'll have plenty of time to talk about how bad the Eagles are.
I have gone with the Steelers to beat the Texans on the money line. I've gone for the Browns to TCOB, take care of business this week. Who have they got? I can't remember off the top of my head now. They're against the Washington football team. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
That'll be fine, just fine. I've gone for the Vikings to get a victory against the Titans.
Mistake.
Try and push
As we
things
learned
up.
last week, you do not back fucking Kirk Cousins because he is shit.
Okay. Dalvin Cook I back though, so that's all right.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't
matter. Use his quarterback.
I'm going with Seattle to beat Dallas because I can't pick Dallas, and I really like watching Seattle. Although I'm bored of Russell Wilson MVP calls in week 2. Like, let's just not start MVP shouts already. And then I've thrown a spread one in Tampa -6 because I think Tampa get it done against the Broncos.
So what have you got for that? I'm guessing quite big.
41-1, so not much still.
What?
Yeah,
the Bengals though.
Steelers money line was really short.
Bengals is 21-10.
But the Bengals, that jacked up my when I was looking at them, and that's why I was so tempted because I went from like 30-1 to I put that in, and then it shot up to 70 or something.
But the reason why is because you've also got the Rams and the Packers.
Yeah,
They're both underdogs. You take 3 dogs, you've got a much better chance of getting much better odds. So
that's cool.
One of those things. Interesting bets though.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
It's a weird week. I would be very, very surprised if we got a winner this week. But
primetime
games last week.
Primetime games this week are just the best.
Oh yeah,
Chiefs and then Ravens, Kansas City. I mean, AFC Championship and possibly the NFC Championship if the Saints.
No way.
Do you guys wish that game was a few more weeks down the line, or do you think it's?
No, I like it now.
It now?
It tells the story of these two met early in the season in week 3, and then something will change midway through the year so that when they go to the AFC Championship game,
it will
feel like a different game as opposed to being, well, they played each other in week 15. They know each other pretty well, how they've been in down the stretch and how they've been looking going into the playoffs.
To be fair, they're both flying at the moment, so it's not like they need to click through the gears and get to like week 7 or something.
Chiefs took a bit of time last week to get going. Chargers did keep them.
In fairness, I think that's just more credit to the Chargers from what I saw.
Yeah, I mean, they always say that he struggles against the Gus Bradley defense.
Yeah.
I remember I read that, but someone said that he always struggles against them. So the Chiefs not doing great against the Chargers doesn't mean it's because the Chargers are brilliant or the Chiefs are terrible. It's just a good matchup.
The Ravens are like watching American football in like 2 times speed. It's lightning quick to the point that you blink and you do miss stuff. It's insane, and I need to sit down and watch a game. I might put them on the big screen in my living room instead of the Eagles game, to be honest, this week. Because they're prime time, so I'll be able to watch it on the big screen anyway. But I'll probably watch that game completely in full, in like the full 3-hour thing, because to see if it does feel like that. Because when you're popping to the Ravens on Red Zone, it's even easier to make it feel like NFL on crack. Whereas if you watch a full game, maybe you'll actually get some pacing to it rather than just being like, oh my God, there's another thing on Lamar Jackson. Oh my God, there's amazing marking. Oh my God, touchdown.
Big thanks to Dave and Jazz, as always, for getting their picks in. Big thanks to you for listening. You can like, follow, subscribe us on iTunes, Google Podcasts, TuneIn Radio app, Anchor.fm, our host, and all other good podcasting outlets, Spotify as well. You can follow us on Twitter at Return the Picks and on Instagram at Return the Picks. And you can follow us individually. O_J_Wilson is myself on Twitter and Instagram. David Bluck 1 and David Bluck are Dave's on Twitter and Instagram. And Jazz is at Jazz Gillum on both Twitter and Instagram. Until next time, thanks for watching.